today we thought we'd do something a little bit different to our normal virtual cooking experience today, because as you may or may not know, Thermomix at the moment have got the best offer ever on buying a brand new Thermomix. And we have got so many people asking us about the Thermomix compared to the Thermomix that they've had for years. So that could be a TM31. I'd love to see a hand or a yes in the chat if you've got a TM31 or a TM5. We literally have been inundated with our owners who have loved their Thermomix, some for 20 years, 2001 to now. Yes, 20 years we've been in Australia. I had to quickly work that out in my head. TM5 with a TM6 in the mail. That's what I love. That's what I like to see. Yes, and another TM5 and a TM6 has arrived. Excellent. Yeah, so some of us have been enjoying Thermomix for 20 years or so. Myself, only 10 years with my TM31. But, you know, this offer that Thermomix have brought forward is the best that I've ever seen. So we have lots of people who want to know what can the TM6 do maybe that my Thermomix can't, or, you know, what are some of the improvements. So today I'm not a big details person, but today I'm actually going to go into details with what the Thermomix actually can do. So it's not just going to be me throwing food in the Thermomix today like we do every other Sunday. I am going to really get into the crux of what this machine can do. So I would love, if you've got any questions, please feel free to come off mute and talk to me. I love when you guys talk back to me. Well, not talk back in a bad way, but talk to me. But if you've got any questions, just whack them in the chat, and hopefully Shane's going to be able to make the chat a little bit bigger so I can read it, or one of my consultants might read some of the chat to me because I can't actually see it. But anyway, let's get started. So before we do get started, actually, Shane, I can use my mouse, can't I? Hang on a second. I'm just going to use my own mouse here. Bear with. And I'm just going to be able to read the chat. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. So, okay, lots of, sister has a TM31. Oh, you have your sister's TM31. Excellent. Lovely. Joe, you've got a TM31. Excellent. And, where am I? Oh, the chat's moving too quickly. I can't keep up. There we go. Yes, the TM6 is certainly next level. Yes, a little bit of experience. Carmel, you've had your TM6 for a little while, and it is going well. Excellent. Rightio. So, like I said, before we get started, I will show you the price and what the great offer that I was talking about is. So, yep, excellent. Thanks, Shane. So the Thermomix is $2,359. We do have lots of payment options, and we will go over those towards the end of the cooking experience. And the special offer that I keep talking about is that you can add a second bowl blade and lid to your Thermomix purchase for just $29. So that is really exciting. So you get a Thermomix plus your spare jug. So any of those people that have said that they've got TM5s or TM31s, you will know how much we love having two bowls. And we can't always have two bowls. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. But let's get into the nitty gritty of the TM6. So obviously the first thing you'll notice, oh, and it's about to turn off. There we go. The first thing you'll notice is that the Thermomix the look of it has changed. So your screen is much bigger, or if you've got a TM31, it actually has a screen. So it is a touch screen. You can do everything in the TM6 that you could do in your TM31 or your TM5 in manual mode. So I actually had a lady ask today about this. If you just go to the screen, thanks Shane, you've still got the ability to do time, temperature, and speed in the TM6. So nothing that you could do in one of the previous models you can't do in the Thermomix. And the first change, I guess, is that when you go into the scales of the TM6, we're actually now in 1 gram increments. So that was really exciting when we first got 1 gram. So the TM5 and the TM31, you guys will know as you're pouring, it'll go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and it goes really quickly. Our scales are even more sensitive now in 1 gram increments. So we'll be even more precise when you're using, weighing in your ingredients. Now, while I'm over on this screen, let's talk about the modes of the TM6. So if you've got a TM31 or a TM5 without a cook key, you're actually not connected to the internet. So that's one of the big things with the TM6, that it is automatically has got the wireless connection to the internet function, and it's built in. There's no extras. So our previous model, you had to actually buy that cook key attachment to have that connection to the internet. So you don't have to worry about that. That's all inbuilt and in there. When you go to this screen, which is our mode screen, I'll just talk you through each of these, just a little bit of each of these. So obviously we've got the scales, which I've already shown you. We've got the dough mode. So now that is just the same. That's just your kneading for your breads or, all your dough, bread, scones, pizza dough, all of that kind of stuff. That's in your dough mode. Turbo has not changed, except Turbo now have got a couple of options when you go into Turbo. So you can do 1 second, I'll go that way, 2 seconds, or half a second. Okay, so that is just a little bit more precise, that turboing and that pulsing in the Thermomix. And for those of you who don't have any Thermomix at all, Turbo is like a full burst of power. So in a traditional recipe, that might be where it says pulse in a blender, like full belt, and that's good for like really finely chopping nuts or pestos or stuff like that. So yeah, that's in there. Then we've got pre-clean. So pre-clean is, I've got a little cheat sheet here to remind me what the old one had and what we have got. Pre-clean is completely new, yes. So pre-clean will actually help you to clean your Thermomix, obviously, but it has got a couple of different options for how dirty your Thermomix is. So if you're just done, and I'm skipping ahead, but if you've done high heat sugar work, for instance, in your Thermomix, then you'll want to go round to fat or caramel, round here, there, and it will actually lock the lid and it'll say approximately 8 minutes, but the Thermomix is actually checking how dirty the bowl feels, if there's any resistance on the blade. It's heating up the bowl and it's slushing around the water to make sure that it's nice and clean, so then you can just rinse it and pop it in the dishwasher or wash it up further. And yes, I love pre-clean mode too. When I can remember to put it on, because I've had so many years of no pre-clean mode that I forget that it's there, and I do forget it sometimes. But yes, I do love pre-clean mode when I remember it. Now the next one along is we've got blend. So blend just is a really good one for if you're just winging it and you've popped, some smoothie ingredients in, and you just want it to be like a blender, and you just want it to build its way up to full speed and to blend everything in there. You can just use your blend mode, which is really handy. You don't have to worry about what number and all that kind of stuff. The next one, I know that it sounds really, really sad to say, but this one, egg boil mode. This is life-changing. So, of course, you can boil eggs in the TM31 and the TM5, but egg boil mode, wow. Okay, so with egg boil mode, you can actually choose how you want to have your eggs. So soft, medium soft, all the way around to hard. You just choose which one you want. It locks the lid. Obviously, you've popped your water and your eggs in the bowl. As you can hear, the blades don't move. So with that one, you just pop the water and the eggs on top of the blades, and it just heats them up to that perfect heat that then they are cooked perfectly to the way that you've chosen how you want your eggs boiled. Now, it says 4 eggs in the recipe, in the instructions. I can tell you I've done 24 eggs at a time. So if you need to do a lot of eggs, this is definitely the way to do it. And they are perfect every time as well. So if you're into eggs, the egg boil mode is amazing. And I know it does sound a little bit sad that egg boil mode could change your life, but here we are. Okay, now kettle mode. Kettle's really cool. Some people have decluttered their kitchens. I'd love to see in the chat anyone with a TM6 who has done away with their jug. Let me know in the chat. So kettle mode, you just go into kettle mode and you can choose what temperature you want your boiling water. And I know that sounds a little bit silly because we all know that it's 100 degrees. However, if you're making a green tea, or there are some other types of teas that want your water just before boiling, rather than boiling it in the jug and letting it cool, you can just say that you want it to aim for, say, 95, and obviously it'll get there a lot quicker, and it'll be able to be poured onto your green tea straight away, and then you can enjoy it straight away. So it's a lot quicker because you're not waiting for it to cool as well. Warm up mode. Now, this is one that we haven't had for very long. So this is if you've cooked something in the Thermomix, say you've done a chicken curry, for instance, or kids' hot chocolates. Yes, kids' hot chocolate with the kettle mode. That's a really good one, and you wouldn't make it too hot so it didn't burn them. That's a really good one, Amy. With warm-up mode, say, like I said, say if you've done like a chicken curry or something like that, you can pop it all back in the Thermomix, and 65 degrees is a good temperature to heat things up to serve. So you can just heat that back up, and it just heats and only stirs like really, really softly off and on until it gets to that temperature. And then it doesn't overcook anything either. If you zap something in the microwave, you actually continue to cook it and sometimes then overcook it, and all the other issues with using the microwave for that kind of thing. But with this, as soon as the whole bowl gets to 65, it just stops. So you're not overheating overcooking your dish further. I like that it holds it at temperature for a few minutes. Yeah, so it will, and you can actually pop that back on, like you could pop it on and it will hold it, and you'll actually see on the screen when it is up to the 65, and then you can come back when you're ready as well. So that's a good one, Tash. Thanks. Okay, there's so many modes, I tell you. Thicken mode is really good for if you're not in a recipe. So say if you're making your grandma's recipe of a white sauce or something like that, and you just want to do that thickening mode. So it gets up to 80 degrees and it will stir it, then stop, and then stir it, and then stop. Perfect for those things that actually need thickening. And use thicken mode this morning for caramel slice. Excellent. For the caramel, Janelle? Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, excellent. And a lot of the time you will see thicken mode in recipes as well, so you don't actually have to remember all of these modes and be using them all separately, because a lot of the time these modes are actually incorporated into guided recipes in the Thermomix, which we will talk about in a sec. Okay, then back here. Rice cooker. So this actually is the same as a rice cooker separate to the Thermomix. It uses absorption method. So if that's how you like cooking your rice, you can see by my facial expressions that's not how I like cooking my rice. But if absorption method is how you want to cook your rice, this will do it perfectly. Again, the blades don't move. You can pop the rice and the water in and it just heats it up exactly like a rice cooker that you would have as an electrical appliance. So that's a good way to cook your rice if that's how you want to do it. Now, the other ones are the ones that the Thermomix cook for or is on for a long time. So our fermentation mode for all of your yogurts and any fermented things, that's perfect. Just keeping the Thermomix at that precise temperature for the long time. So if you go in there, you'll see like it's the basic ferment is 8 hours, 70 degrees. But of course you bring that back down, you know, for yogurt or whatever you're making, and then you can turn that on. So yeah, this Thermomix can actually go for 8 hours without you actually coming back and touching it. And it will actually go up to 12 hours without you having to come back. So that's one of the things that the the TM31 couldn't do. And we had to come back every, I think, 60 minutes to, that might, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was every 60 minutes we had to come back to the TM31. So that's a really good one. And the same with slow cooking, obviously, slow cooking is what it's saying. A lot of these ones, the slow cook function is actually in the recipe. I haven't actually done a slow cook recipe with my own ingredients without being in a recipe yet, but I should maybe try something that I might have done in my slow cooker. I probably won't be able to remember the recipe, but anyway. So you can use your Thermomix as a slow cooker, and you know can set it for that long amount of time at that lower temperature depending on what you want. And it's really good with this. It's not just high and low, like a lot of slow cookers are high or low and nowhere in between. The Thermomix, you can actually precisely set it to the temperature that you want. Again, that's really good that you're in a recipe and someone's already tested that for you, that you know that it needs to be cooked at 8 hours at 50 degrees or whatever it is. You know, we love our recipe testers for exactly for that they get to do all that trial and error and cooking and stuff like that as well. Rightio, and then probably my favorite, one of my favorite, is the sous vide mode. So a lot of people are a bit wary of this one because you are cooking your meat in a cryovac bag. So there is some people that don't like cooking in plastic, which is completely fine. Just check with the manufacturer of your cryovac bags, depending on what you're comfortable cooking in. At the mix shop, we've got some really great BPA free, all the free, well, the other thing free, cryovac bags. And sous videing steak especially is the best, I think the best way to cook it. And basically what it is, like I said, your meat is in a cryovac bag. You can actually get your butcher to cryovac it for you if you don't have a cryovac machine or you don't have the bags. And you then pop the meat in the Thermomix and it basically sits in a water bath at that temperature for a long time. So my favorite is 4 hours at 50 degrees for like 2 rib fillets is perfect. But again, there's lots of recipes and lots of people have tested this for you, so you don't have to remember that. You can actually even inside the bag, you can put a little bit of butter, some herbs, salt and pepper, whatever you want, and then it just cooks in its own juices, and it's so deliciously tender and beautiful that it's really, really good. You can see that I really like that mode and not so much the rice cook mode. You can kind of pick up which ones I'm into. Now with the sous vide mode, there's literally no stopping you once you get started with sous vide. You can sous vide strawberries, and the strawberries cook in their own juices in their bag. You can do scrambled eggs. You can do every meat: chicken, fish, beef. You know, there's nothing you can't really cook in the sous vide mode. Ferment is one of my favorites. Use it a couple of times a week at least. Yes, Tash. And you guys eat a lot of yogurt. See, we don't, it's, you know, a Thermomix is for everybody to use how it suits their family. We don't eat hardly any yogurt. So, you know, the thought of me making my own yogurt is just really, really hard for me because we hardly eat any. But I know that you, for instance, Tash, you've paid for your Thermomix just on what you save just from yogurt because your family eat a ton of it. So, yeah, that's one of those things that, you know, it's so finding what's going to help your family and what you're going to do a couple of times a week in the Thermomix, spot on. Anyway, that's all my modes, is it? Yes, so they're all your modes. So that's over, if you slide across, that's all your modes over here. Okay, now the other really cool thing, I'll probably say the other really cool thing like 50 times in this video, but the other really cool thing is if you slide this way, then you are connected to COOKIDOO. Now, if you don't have a cook key with your TM5 or you have a TM31, then you don't know what COOKIDOO is. Now, COOKIDOO is basically a library of all of the recipes that have been made for TM6, and they're available for you on your Thermomix. Thanks, Shane. I forgot to mention I've got Shane in the driver's seat today. So COOKIDOO is your one-stop shop for all your Thermomix recipes, but with the TM6, you can actually search those recipes on your Thermomix. So you don't have to be as organized as you are if you have a cook key and are saving those recipes to then come over to your Thermomix. But online, on your actual Thermomix, you can search by ingredient, you can search by the name of the recipe, and you can be really organized. Now, if you don't have COOKIDOO, please go and start yourself a cookidoo.com.au account. Everybody gets a free month of COOKIDOO. So you can have a look at the recipes and start thinking, you know, would I make that, you know, all that kind of stuff. But in COOKIDOO, it's endless amounts of things that you can do in here. You can do your meal plans, you can do your shopping list, you can actually connect your shopping list over to Woolworths online. And we do have an app for COOKIDOO as well. So you can actually take that with you. You've got your phone, you've basically got all your cookbooks with you everywhere you go on your app. Now, we actually do specialized, that's the word, classes just to help you use COOKIDOO. And yes, and I do love that COOKIDOO 3.0 is coming out. I can see that in the chat. And what COOKIDOO 3.0 is going to let us do is actually import our own recipes, which is something that we are super excited about because we have never been able to put our own recipe over onto the Thermomix. So the fact that we can do that is like a bit exciting. And does COOKIDOO mean you don't need to buy any of the recipe books then? It's exactly what it means, Joe. You never have to have any cookbooks now. You've got your COOKIDOO subscription and that's all you need. As soon as they bring out a cookbook, all the recipes will be in there. And yeah, that's a good point, Tash. Sometimes the stuff in the front of the books, you know, or the stories in the book, there is some good information in there, but definitely I find that COOKIDOO is a really good way to see if you're going to use a cookbook as well. And, you know, if you're going back to the same cookbook all the time, you know, you might want it if you're like a person who likes sitting down and reading a cookbook. But yeah, otherwise you don't need to buy the cookbook. Now, I just want to give you a little sneak peek. I am lucky enough to be trialing COOKIDOO 3.0, and I just want to show you what it looks like. So obviously this is just our normal COOKIDOO platform. I could type here and I could search, I could just type in anything and search whatever I wanted to. You know, these are some things that have already been found. This is what that looks like when you go into the recipe. I'll show you that when we do some cooking in a minute. But if you have a look in here, if I go into my recipes and I go into created recipes, you will see there, oh, you can't really see, but you can, that here I've got Gemma's scones. Now, my scone recipe I uploaded to the recipe community, and anytime I want to make Gemma's scones, I actually have to, before COOKIDOO 3.0, I had to actually get my iPad or my recipe out and be following it manually. But now my scone recipe is in here, and I just hit start cooking and I follow my own instructions. I was hoping that there wasn't going to be a spelling mistake on that because I hadn't actually read that. But luckily no spelling mistakes, but there could easily be a spelling mistake because I've actually popped this in myself into the Thermomix. So if anybody is the type of cook who likes to deviate from the recipe and change things as you go, or even make up your own recipes, COOKIDOO 3.0 is going to be really good for you. As you could see in there before, I had Wesley's burgers. So Wes has got a COOKIDOO recipe, and he's actually changed it the way he thinks the recipe should be, which is, you know, the changes that he's made to that recipe are that he makes breadcrumbs at the start with stale bread, because he doesn't like that recipe asking for breadcrumbs halfway through when we never buy breadcrumbs, we just make our own. So he thinks that should be added to the start of that recipe, which he's done. And he's changed that it should be chuck steak. We don't do chuck steak, we do rump steak. So he's gone in and actually changed those things so that he can just run through that recipe now, and he doesn't have to remember the changes that we make when we make it. So it is so cool, Joe, yes. Rightio. Does anybody have any questions? I just need to take a breath. Any other questions? Oh, Shane has a question. Why isn't his recipe from Recipe Community in there? Because I haven't put it in yet, Shane, but you're very welcome to put your recipe in there. Now, let's talk. The other thing, and I am going to, yes, we are recording, Joe. The other thing that, and probably the number one thing, I've saved the best to last, is that this Thermomix gets hotter than all the previous models. So this Thermomix will get to a maximum 160 degrees. Before, we only had the maximum of 120. And today when we're going to start cooking now, and I am going to show you high heat. So high heat's only available inside of a recipe, so it's not something you can go into when you're manually cooking, but it's in lots of recipes. And today I'm going to do the chicken teriyaki, which I think is a great recipe. So I've just gone in to my week, and as you can see, earlier today I did a cooking experience and I did Brazilian cheese puffs and creamy coconut chicken curry, which are both very, very good dishes. But today I'm going to do chicken teriyaki. I've popped that into my COOKIDOO meal plan, and that's why my Thermomix knows that that's what I'm going to cook as well. And it is a delish recipe, isn't it, Janelle? Radio. So I'm going to start cooking, and please feel free to come off mute and ask some questions. But very soon you will hear the Thermomix actually sizzle, which is very exciting for those of you who haven't heard that before. So I'm putting in some oil. Bless you, Shane. And, oh, it's not COVID. And it's not contagious through Zoom anyway. Okay, so I'm going to pop in some chicken thigh fillet. And I've just chopped that up into bite-sized pieces. And now I'm not going to put my splash guard on because I want you to hear this. So I'll just go past that. And now I'm starting high heat. So as you can see on the screen, can you just show the screen? Yep, so as you can see here, there's no speed. It's just the high heat function. Now with with the high heat, it's not a speed. It moves it around, and then as you can hear, stops. Okay, so it's exactly like if you had like a, you know, chicken on a pan. Can you just come back to me? Thanks. If you had chicken on a pan and you were moving it, and then you'd stop and you'd let it heat up, and then you'd give it a little bit more of a shake or a stir or whatever. That's exactly now what the Thermomix can do, and it's smart enough to know when to do that. Now, have a little listen. Can you hear that? Yes? Excellent. So we're already sizzling. So we're only 40 seconds in, and the Thermomix is getting up to that maximum heat and sizzling that away now. How much chicken would you cook effectively at a time? So this recipe only calls for 250, and as you've seen, I did go a little bit over the 250. If you wanted to do more than that, you would just have to do the step again, because with the high heat, you have to keep really close to the amounts as well. But some of the recipes is a lot more. It just depends what the recipe says. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what the maximum is, but it would depend on the recipe. So you wouldn't want to be deviating too much from the recipe that you're actually in. But if I think 250 grams of chicken isn't enough, like there's four, 5 of us in our family, and when I first seen this recipe, I thought, oh, that's not going to feed us. We need much more chicken than that in a meal. But this recipe, I think, is such a good one, and it's such a good one for money saving as well, because the 250 grams of chicken seems to go a long way, and it's plenty. With some rice, it's plenty for our family. So yeah. Yeah, and there is some recipes, that's a good point. If you need to double it for the amount of meat for a recipe, it'll ask you to take that out and then put another lot of the same amount in, and it does it in 2 stages. So the only reason it does that is that it wants to sizzle it and not stew it. So it wants to be moving that meat around. So yeah. A second bowl will be good for that too, brown sizzle initially, I think. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know who wrote that. About the second bowl. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Oh, that's Joe. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Joe.
What I mean is, if you wanted to do a double batch like 500, 700 grams, you could do your 250 and have the other bowl, put it on,
Yep.
and then have the next minute. Because traditionally, when you cook in cooking in batches on the stovetop, you're going to have to only do so much as well anyway. But
Yeah.
second bowl, you could have the second lot ready to go, so you could just put one on, take it off, put the other one on, take it off, put the other one on, and then into the contents.
And be doing 2. Yeah. Well, and like I said, I really was very skeptical about this recipe at the start, because I was like, oh, it's only two chicken thigh fillets, and I think, oh, there's no way that's going to feed my family, but it really does. So it's a really good one for money saving as well. As Joe said, you could do 2. The other thing about the doubling it, I think it's the beef stroganoff recipe. It actually asks you to do 350 grams of meat, take that out, do another 350. So you actually have a lot of that in there as well. So, okay, so we've got 40 more seconds of the sizzle, and that's all that this, oh, actually, do we cook it for another 4 minutes? Hang on a sec. I don't know this recipe off by heart. Stand by. But very soon it will ask me to pop the chicken in a thermoserver. And if you don't have a thermoserver yet, make sure that you speak to your consultant about how to get a thermoserver. You need to have at least one. I think maybe 3 is a good amount, but at least one thermoserver in your life. So speak to your consultant about how you get one of those at a discount as well. So here we go. What are you doing? Oh, thank you, Shane. Oh dear. So Shane just emptied out all of the names. I did a drawer for someone on, and I had all the names in there. So luckily I didn't put my chicken in on top of all the names. Now, this is where it doesn't cook it again. It's cooked. Okay. So it asks you to grab the chicken out using tongs. And I actually disregarded the tong bit in this recipe, and I realized that it actually wants to keep the chicken juice in there as that sort of steams the vegetables in the next step. So I know I should know by now to listen to the Thermomix, but that chicken is cooked. So this is a really quick, easy weeknight dinner as well, because it really is quick. I'm not very good with tongs. There we go. Rightio. So you leave your chicken juice and a little bit of chicken in there, but then we pop our lid on. So if you haven't seen a thermo server before, basically what that does is it keeps the food hot or cold for 2 hours. And yeah, really, really good. Now, I forgot to ask you, Shane, to grab me an onion. So we'll just go past that bit and we won't worry about that. But in here we will put that must be for later. Yeah. Oh dear, I've lost the plot. Okay, back to it. Red capsicum. Now, this has also got obviously your grams, but I just do a whole red capsicum, so it is a little bit more than what it says. I do a little bit more carrot than what it says. And some snow peas and some broccoli. So then this is sort of like a stir, well, it is very much like a stir fry. We put a little bit more oil in. And we pop that on. And again, we're going to use the high heat function. But now, not only are we stir frying, that chicken juice that's on the bottom, it's sort of now steaming our veggies as well. So it only now cooks for 5 minutes. So yeah, it's really quick. I can't explain how quick it is. Megan, do you love was that thermo server? Is that what you were talking about? Yep, okay, love it, yes. I don't know how anybody lives without a thermo server, or like I said, or 3. Yeah.
What cookbook is the chicken teriyaki meal from? Is it by some Meals and Flash by any chance?
I don't think so, Joe. I think it is a Skinny Mixers, isn't it?
Okay.
Hang on a sec.
It's from a Skinny Mixers COOKIDOO collection.
Thank you. I thought I'd be able to find that on there, but no, I can't. When I do my COOKIDOO classes, that's one of the things that I tell people is find out where the recipe come from, and you can easily do that on COOKIDOO. You can scroll all the way down the bottom and it tells you where it come from. And then if you click on that book or that collection, thank you, Amy, that's very helpful. If you click on that collection, often that will open up a whole heap of other similar type of recipes that you might be interested in trying. So it's a really good way because we've got over 30,000 or 39,000 or something recipes on COOKIDOO now. So you're never going to get through all of them, most likely. I don't want to say never. But more than likely you won't get through them all. And you do sometimes get a little bit lost with too many options, which I know anybody with a TM31 will know, we started off with 140 recipes and I had cooked every single one of them when I had a TM31. So I know when I now say, look, we might have too many recipes, you're probably thinking, oh, that's not possible, because we didn't have hardly any at the start, but we have got so many recipes now, you probably never get through all of them. So, yeah. Rightio. So now you can listen again. And you will hear that those veggies are cooking away now there. So in the next 2.5 minutes, I'm going to tell you about the payment options that we have. So, am I Shane? Thank you. So I think the best way to get a Thermomix is to join our team. You can earn a Thermomix, or you can come with your existing TM6 Thermomix and just start earning commission. So if you are interested in joining our team, this is what you get when you buy the kit. So even the kit is really great value. There's a thermo server in there. There's a thermo mat for when you're doing dough and all that. And it's only $125 for the kit. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know and I can give you some more information about that. If you just want to pay for the Thermomix outright, like I said before, $2,359, one-off payment, obviously PayPal, credit card, direct deposit, all that kind of stuff. The really exciting news is that we do have 36 months interest free with Zip Money. So at the moment, and until December, I don't know the date off the top of my head, but you can get a Thermomix for just $16.83 a week with Zip Money. So if budget is what's stopping you from getting a Thermomix, make sure you chat to your Thermomix consultant, because we can help everybody. There's no one that we can't help save $16.83 on their groceries by having a Thermomix. So chat to us about that if that is what you need help with. And our Easy 3 is a really great option as well. You just pay your $1,009. Your Thermomix comes when you pay your first payment, and then a month later you pay $700, and a month after that you pay another $700. And that's all our payment options, is it? I feel like I got through that really quickly. Anyway, thank you, Shane. The other thing I want to tell you about is that we love, obviously, sharing the Thermomix with our friends, and now you can do that virtually, very simply, like coming to one of these, thank you, Janelle, one of these classes or cooking experiences. You can bring your friends along to see the Thermomix. And as a thank you to you for doing that, we have to thank you. So we give you an option of buying any of those items at a discount, or some of those for free if your friend decides that it is time for them to get a Thermomix. So if you've got some friends in mind that you think, yes, they need a Thermomix in their life, we've got the second bowl blade lid special going until the 2nd of December as well, because that's the same date. Thank you, Janelle. And it's a great time to get them, to show them the Thermomix, and we will be doing more of these cooking experiences. Same link, share that with them, and they can come along here and see the Thermomix on a Sunday. Rightio. Now this is, like, can you believe it? We're almost done with this recipe. Now, it tells you to put your veggies, look at that. They're like so beautiful. Now, I'm just gonna tip them out. You could grab them out gently with but all that liquid's sort of been absorbed by the veggies. I'm just going to put that there. It tells you to give your bottom a little bit of a scrape. Get any chicken that's on the bottom, like that. It'll come up when the next bit goes in. Now we're going to make our sauce. So do not clean the mixing bowl. That is probably, when it says that, I think, right, this is my kind of recipe. Love it. We go next, we pop in our ginger and our garlic. So just chunks, one little bit of ginger, 2 bits of garlic, and we are going to blitz that. So as you can see on the screen, all I'm doing is next and turn, next and turn. And I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, good job, Shane. There we go. You can see our garlic and our ginger has all chopped up there. And now I'm going to pop in some tamari. little bit extra will be right. And some honey. Oh, look at that. Spot on. And some corn flour. So this just cooks this sauce for you to put over your chicken and your veggies. 2 teaspoons. And 2 teaspoons of water. And that is the sum and total of the easiest sauce you'll probably make. Rightio. So that's just going to cook for 3 minutes. So much easier than grating and chopping, I reckon. Imagine if you had to chop that, if you had to grate the ginger and chop the garlic and, oh no, you wouldn't bother, would you? I wouldn't anyway. Okay, so then I'll show you what that does. I've still got 9 times out of 10, I forget to put my sesame seeds on here, and it makes it so yummy. You've got to put your sesame seeds on. Rightio. Now, if we've got any questions, if I've missed anything in the chat, one of my consultants might tell me if I've missed anything, but if you've got any questions, come off mute now. Now is the time to ask me anything within reason. Don't all rush. No. Yes, it does. It has come down to $300 before. So it's $375 retail. Who asked that question? Is it somebody that's got a new Thermomix? Because I know that the bowl did come down in the last, what do they call it, like before Black Friday sale. Megan. Megan's got a new Thermomix. So Megan, I'll talk to you about how you might be able to get a discount on your Thermomix, because all of our new owners, when you first get a Thermomix, when you do your delivery cooking experience with your consultant, you will get a 20% off voucher for the mix shop. So then that's when you can buy extra accessories. Obviously, if you buy a Thermomix in this month, you won't need another bowl, but that's what I've been suggesting my people do buy. Joe says, with the high heat function, do you still use the Varoma much? Oh yeah, Joe, look, the high heat, the Varoma is actually a little bit quicker because obviously it can get hotter, so it does steam a little bit better, but you're still using your Varoma just as much, if not more probably. I think you've got a TM31, so your Varoma is actually, well, mine's in the dishwasher, I was going to show you, but your Varoma is actually a bit bigger as well with this. So yeah, you're still using your Varoma to steam and your Varoma to get up to speed as well. When you become a consultant, do you have to sell so many Thermomixes to stay active? Yes, 1 a month, Megan, is active. Good question. Radio, our sauce is done. And look at it, it's like, it's cooked that corn flour, and it is the yummiest, like sticky, about overhead maybe, Shane. With me? Oh, look, you can't really see, but it's like a really nice sticky sort of sauce for your chicken and veggies. And you then can just pour that straight over the top in your thermo server, because you have to have a thermo server. Of course, you could just have this in a bowl. And there you go. And then you just give that a bit of a toss through. Your chicken's in there in the bottom. And you literally have 2.6 litre. This is a oops. That bit we won't worry about. You literally then have 2.6 litre thermoserver full of stir fry. Where are we? Oh, did you go to the other one? Excellent. So there you go. So that's your chicken teriyaki done. Obviously, if you wanted to, you know, you could, like I said, that when I serve that to my family, I've already made rice. I've done rice first, popped it in my thermoserver, and then I do that. So I have that with rice. You can do it with, I know Tasha's family do it with Hokkien noodles or something along those lines. It's a real winner. And I had to stack more vegetables. Well, I was pretty good. I put a fair few extras in there, Tash, but look, you literally can have that like right to the brim with veggies as well, yes. But I was pretty good. I did a whole broccoli. The bowl's full when I do it, yes. Well, it is usually when I do too. Excellent, radio. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today. I will stay on. If you do have any questions, happy to come off mute and chat. But other than that, that is us done for Sunday. Thank you so much for being here to watch, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.